Welcome. For those of you joining us once again, welcome back to part number 4 of the Student Robotics League 2020. We've had 3/4 of the league matches thus far. Now for those crucial final matches to decide the seedings into our grand knockout for next week. We have 12 teams playing today, playing our game of 2 colours. It's a virtual competition this year, as those of you who've been following along will know, due to certain viral incident which may or may not be occurring in the world. And 12 of our teams have come along for the ride. I'm Alistair, and with me today is mysterious man of mystery and mysteriousness, Mr. Jake Howard.
Hello there.
How you doing, Jake?
I'm alright. The weather is significantly more well-tuned to being inside and competing robots, so definitely happy about that.
Jake's a bit of a troglodyte, you see. He burns in the sun. He's possibly a vampire. I've never seen him in a mirror, I'm just saying.
Have you ever seen me and a vampire in the same room?
I'll get back to you on that. I'm not sure that's how it works.
It's close enough. In the same way that I may be Batman.
Yeah, anything is possible. Right, let's have a quick look at the state of the league. Roaring in first place at the moment, Kenilworth with their commanding performance. Following closely on their heels is Lawrence Sheriff. Jam Dynamics behind them, tied on league points with a tie broken by game points. Hills Road following in 4th. South Wilts 5th, Hills Road number 2 in 6th. A team from Germany, Gymnasium Markt Dittersdorf, in position number 7 with 57 league points and matching their league points but having scored fewer game points. Headington right behind them from Oxford. King Edward VI of Southampton down in position number 9. Wisbeach behind them in position 10. The Perth School holding up in position number 11. And finally, yet to make an appearance, sadly, Southend High School for Boys in position number 12. What game are they going to be playing today, Mr. Jake?
Well, as the same game as they've been playing for the last 3 league sessions, we're playing the game of 2 colours.
God!
Oh, what's that for consistency? So the game of 2 colours is played with tokens of, funnily enough, 2 colours. Now, in the arena, there are 16 tokens, 8 silver, 8 gold, and the robots positioned in the 4 corners of the arena need to collect some tokens and bring them back to their scoring zone, which is the same segment of the arena they started in. Now, the points on this isn't entirely straightforward. Now, they get 1 point for simply leaving their scoring zone, which we can see there as the dotted line. If they get a token back to their scoring zone, they get 3 points for each token. Token must be in contact with the floor, but at any point inside the zone. So even if there's a little bit of a corner in, that still counts. Now, what makes 2 colours slightly more interesting is the fact that there are 2 colours. If a team has, say, a silver token and a gold token, the tokens go from being worth 3 points each to being worth 1 point each.
No!
I know, it's crazy.
Sorry, just thought I'd add some drama into that.
I could approve of the drama. Now, there's 2 reasons this actually adds a reasonably interesting dynamic into this game. There is either you need to make sure that your robot only goes for one specific type of token. Now, obviously, they are all worth the same. It doesn't actually matter. The other dynamic of this, which is very interesting, that we've seen, whether accidentally or intentionally, throughout the last 3 league sessions, is you can poison your opponent's scoring zones. Now, what this means is if you can see that this robot's got only silver tokens in their arena, if you deposit them a gold, it can massively affect the point scoring, such that more tokens doesn't necessarily mean more points, and points thus not meaning more prizes. So that's the game of 2 colours. It is, on the surface, a reasonably simple game, and as we can see, there's only 4 real metrics in how to score it, but there's some very interesting dynamics that we can see in play. We've seen throughout the last 3 league sessions, and we may get to see again today.
Jake?
Yes?
I lost the game.
Go away.
Shall we have a quick look at the robots that will be playing this game? Because unfortunately, they're somewhat less corporeal than the robots we're used to in the physical competition. Let me introduce you to the Virtual Competition robot. Virtual Competition robot has 2 driving wheels and a caster at the back for grabbing the token. It has a grabber at the front with movable jaws, which can also be lifted up and down to lift the token and also to reach tokens on the central raised pedestal. For its sensors, it has a virtual camera. It can see markers around the side of the arena to know where it is. It can see tokens to know where they are. It is also equipped with a number of touch sensors to find out if it's touching anything, useful for indicating whether you've touched a token for pushing it, or indeed whether you've touched a robot to avoid that situation. It also has a number of distance sensors, which can, as the name might imply, tell you the distance to the nearest object in that direction. Useful for lining up with things, useful for approaching tokens, and once again, useful for avoiding other robots. Now, unfortunately, we've seen quite a lot of collisions. The downside to these robots is you will note that the center of mass is relatively high, and they have a tendency to flip over on their backs and sunbathe during matches when they collide with things at great speed. We've also seen, fractionally more surprising in terms of physics reflecting physics, we have occasionally seen them yitten out of the arena at great velocities, reported on the forums to be 10 kilometers a second at one point when they've glitched through other objects. Every once in a while it happens, apart from our friendly team at the Kenilworth Space Program, who have got a reliable way to trigger it and seem to be doing so at the end of every match.
And unfortunately, whilst we do refer to them as the Kenilworth Space Program, as was discovered yesterday, they never technically made it into space.
Oh, no, they didn't. They only got up to, what, 60 kilometers?
Yes, 60 kilometers, which it's not obvious whether that's necessarily the vertical height or just how far they traveled away from the arena. But 60 kilometers is still quite a long way from the edge of the Earth's atmosphere, meaning they never quite hit what is generally considered space.
I don't know if we actually simulate gravity decreasing as you go further up. I think we're just applying it as a flat 9.8 meters per second.
Yes, we are.
We
never expected our robots to hit like the upper atmosphere. It was just, it's not in the risk assessment.
Sorry, Kenilworth, we're just not set up for the orbital dynamics. Besides, I'm not sure if 10 kilometers per second is actually escape velocity, is it?
No, I feel like you'd need to go slightly faster than that to get out.
Turning to somewhat more terrestrial matters, who do we think, other than our space friends, are the teams to watch today, Jake?
Well, anything's to play for. Obviously, teams have likely changed their code since we ran matches yesterday. So, for all we know, we could be looking at 12 completely different robots. With that said, the incredible performances that we saw yesterday from both Kenilworth, Jam Dynamics, and South Wilts were all incredibly impressive, and it goes to show that they are sitting in the top 5 positions in our league table, which is quite impressive.
It's going to be a lot of wrangling for that second and third place between our rookies, between Lawrence Sheriff, between South Wilts, and between both the Hills Road teams, jockeying for that easier run through the knockouts. The league points you score in these matches seed the positions in the knockouts, which will be taking place next Saturday. The better you do in the league, the easier run you have through the knockouts. We should qualify that everyone will go into the knockouts. You'll just have an easier time through them the higher up you score in the league.
And obviously, as is shown by the name knockouts, depending on where you score in those matches, it depends on whether you progress forwards. There are very few matches next weekend, which means there's very few chances to actually make a difference. You need to win as many matches as you possibly can, and even all of them in those knockout matches, to end up with a chance of being crowned victorious team.
It gets quite brutal quite quickly. quick update from chat. Apparently, we have 750 kilometers new record for height achieved by glitching out of the arena, which is definitely space.
That is definitely space, and therefore I will take the other comment in the chat and propose that SR2020 rather than Student Robotics becomes Student Rockets.
Well, with apologies to Mr. Scarsbrook, who has to do our risk assessments. Sorry, Scarzy, we released a competitor into space. Right, up first, match number 1 today, or should I say match number 36. We'll be seeing the Perth School, King Edward VI, Lawrence Sheriff, and our teams from Southend. Let's see if the Perth School can improve on their performance from yesterday, because they were struggling a bit. So maybe they're the ones to watch in green. Off we kick. Right, still no appearance from Southend, unfortunately. Perth School going into that wall again. Seems like they're up to their old tricks, sadly. King Edward VI, straight out. They line up on that silver. They go for the silver, but they're not quite aligned. You need to really be square onto a token to grab it, as Lawrence Sheriff just demonstrates. Instead, King Edward VI award a silver to the Perth School. Lawrence Sheriff showing them how it's done. They get that gold. Now King Edward VI have the silver. They just need to get it into their scoring zone. That does not look from here like it's in the scoring zone, but it might be. Remember, only a little corner needs to go into the scoring zone. And it looks like Lawrence Sheriff lining up one of those central tokens. They're doing very well.
They are indeed. They're grabbing that second gold token off of that race platform, moving it back into their scoring zone with expert precision there. Unfortunately, that precision not quite being shared by the Kenilworth there, as they nudged that gold token almost into Perth School's scoring zone.
King Edward VI. They do line up for a new... Oh, there's going to be a bit of a tussle down here. They might hit each other. Now, there's a high risk when this happens. One of the robots ending up flipping over on its back, which is why it's a very good idea to implement some collision detection and robot avoidance code. As Lawrence Sheriff just demonstrates, over they go. Now, King Edward VI wildly spinning around. It's not sure entirely what they're up to, but they do have the possibility of doing some steals here. I'm not sure if that silver token is in or not. Well, the one on the bottom left certainly is. That's points awarded to Southend, unless they can move it out of Southend zone. Generosity here.
No, that token there being on the line is definitely still in that scoring zone. That's more points that King Edwards have given to other teams than they've scored for themselves. That silver token in the top of the arena there doesn't look like it's into me, which is very unfortunate.
Fortunately, the scorers have a good view on all of these things. Hopefully we'll be seeing action replay as King Edward VI. Over they go onto their backs. That centre of mass, it's a killer.
It really is. Sometimes driving at full speed is not, in fact, the best way to drive a robot. Or anything for that matter.
Oh, you mean it's not the way to drive a car?
No. Remind me never to get into a car with you again.
All right, I will remind you. Thereupon ends match number 36. Waiting for a final word on whether that silver was in the scoring zone or not. All right, so robots on their backs. Hopefully we'll see a bit more action out of the next match. Who have we got coming up next, Mr. Jake?
We have our friends from Headington School, HRS number 2, the Kenilworth Space Force, and again, King Edward VI. Let's see if hopefully they can score slightly more points for themselves than they do for their opponents. Obviously, scoring points for your opponents is not actually the best way to do it. You actually want to be scoring points for yourselves, funnily enough.
And I've had word from the scorers. At the end, the last match, that token was not in the zone.
Ooh, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate.
Let's see if King Edward II can at least improve that.
King Edward II?
King Edward II, yes. King Edward VI School.
I believe it's pronounced V.
VI, actually.
King Edward the V. Oh, yeah, the VI.
I never thought I'd teach you Latin.
Yeah, you got me. I'm not even a proper Roman.
No, you're not. There we are, HRS2 moving very nice and quickly towards that gold token, not quite grabbing it. King Eb was there showing us they can't quite line up to the tokens squarely, but they are moving it into the Kenilworth scoring zone temporarily, using it to line up and dragging it very slowly towards their scoring zone. Kenilworth there grabbing that gold token, moving it into their scoring zone, giving them a nice healthy 4 points. King Eb was there. It looks like from here that silver token in the bottom left scoring zone is indeed inside their scoring zone, which is nice to see. Both Headington School there and HRS2 clearly locked in some kind of jostle. They don't appear to be moving. Let's hope they can actually score some points, although they have left their scoring zone, giving them at least 1 game point each, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it looks to me, Jake, like Headington might be stuck on one of the grabber jaws of Hills Road Tomb number 2.
That could very well be. They're trying. It looks like the Headington School there are trying to line up to a token on the raised area. If they can jostle their way free, they may be able to release themselves from the grasp of the HRS2 robot there. In the meantime, King Eb was there going for their second silver token and just pushing it across the line, giving them a total of 7 points, dropping it on the line there, still in fact scoring them points.
Solid performance from them there.
That's
all
very
credit.
impressive.
Assuming they don't accidentally pick it up and take it out of their zone again.
Oh, don't speak too soon. It looks like they're trying to grab that silver token there. In the meantime, HRS there looks like they've grabbed a silver token. Can they move it back to their scoring zone? 45 seconds left of this match number 37.
Straight in they go.
Straight in. Straight down and straight scoring them points.
Pushing is a perfectly good strategy.
It is indeed. Those grabbers, whilst they look fancy, and they are in theory the only way of getting tokens off the raised area, they are not necessary. You can do quite a lot of token moving abilities by simply just shunting them around. That works perfectly fine. It's maybe slightly less controlled. Oh, Kenilworth there look like they may be going in for the steal, trying to grab that silver token.
Instead, King Eb the 6th going for the defensive strategy of pushing it through the wall.
Oh,
out it goes, out of the arena
it goes.
and out of their scoring zone.
Yes, the scoring zones are in fact bounded by the arena walls, which means they've actually glitched that token out of points.
Oh, that's a very unfortunate ending.
Ooh.
So it looks like we've got a ties for first place there. 3-way tie for first place.
We do indeed, between HRS and Kenilworth. Very, very impressive performances from those robots. King Eb the 6th almost had the chance to beat them, but unfortunately pushing that token out of the arena means they lose its points.
That is a shame. But them's the rules.
Them's is the rules indeed. I know, I wrote them.
Another one to be aware of is the token has to be in contact with the floor in the scoring zone. So if at the end of the match your robot is holding it while facing upwards, or even just holding it off the ground, that's not in contact with the floor. That's not a point. Well, hopefully we won't be seeing any of those unfortunate situations in this next match coming up between Kenilworth, South Wilts, MAI, and Southend. Traditionally strong performance from Kenilworth to be expected here, but South Wilts doing very well yesterday.
That was impressively well performance yesterday.
And MAI, of course, the dark horse as ever of this competition. They can never be ruled out, judging by their past performances in SRs. Let's see how they do. MAI, out they move. Slowly, but more slowly than South Wilts, who are followed by Kenilworth straight out. South Wilts get the silver. Turn around. Can they bring it back to their home zone? As MAI, they grab the gold. Line up for it perfectly. Kenilworth also got a gold. In they take it. Right, looks like we've got points scored all round. Where will they go from here? South Wilts lining up on that second silver, but they hit MAI. They push MAI over. This looks recoverable, but still, there's quite the tussle going on in that bottom corner. They have, it seems unintentionally, however, put that silver token into MAI's scoring zone, enormously reducing MAI's points, which put this currently down to a 2-way tie between South Wilts and Kenilworth. Kenilworth, in the meantime, grabbing a second gold, going for it. No, that silver token looks like it's being pushed out out of MAI scoring zone. Presumably South Wilts is grabbing it, trying to take it home. Well, this is going to be a very close match. Well, at least it is for the second place, because it looks like Kenilworth, once again, with a dominating performance, they grab that second gold. Will they be able to get a third in the 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining?
Let's see. We have there the South Wilts robot trying to grab that silver token, pushing it into the invisible SEN's token. From here, it looks like that token is indeed in the scoring zone, meaning they've just given some points to their opponents. The best tactic, but I mean, it works at least. That's something. Clearly realizing the error of their mistakes, and there we go. Maybe pushing it out. It's not obvious to see from this camera angle, but that does look like it may be in.
It seems like South Wilts, their code can't quite deal with trying to grab a token when it's also up against a wall. Bit of an edge, well, literal edge case there. What they do, however, is enormously reduce the points of Kenilworth.
That's incredibly impressive. That dropped 9 points down to 4. That's very unfortunate, and in fact massively drops their lead, and in fact gives the win. Yeah, that massively drops their lead. They're still in first, but by a significantly smaller margin.
Well, we'll see if they can get a 4th gold in the last few seconds, which would be a new record. Unfortunately, somewhat marred by the fact that they've been poisoned. But yes, they do get a 4th gold. Had it not been for the poisoning incident, that would be a new record on game points scored in a single match this competition. And, of course, finally glitch out.
But that does mean there are 5 tokens in that scoring zone, which is the most tokens that we have seen in a scoring zone in a competition so far, but also that's 4 of the same color, which again is a record and the highest we've seen in this scoring so far.
God, that was
incredibly impressive performance.
It was a very busy match, that. There's a lot going on.
It really was.
Let's have a quick look at the state of the league. Obviously not representative because we are between matches, but as things stand, Kenilworth still holding that first place with 88 points. Lawrence Sheriff beginning to nip at their heels with 83. Jam Dynamics in the third, and Hills Road closing up the pack with 70 points for both teams, with Hills Road and team number 1 ahead. South Wilts now behind them, followed by King Edward VI. It really is closing up quite quickly.
It really is. Both HRS and HRS2 there having the same number of league points, and South Wilts there having a nice number of league points. As we move into match number 39 between Headington School, Wisbeach Grammar School, Jam Dynamics, and HRS number 1. It's going to be a very interesting match. Let's see how it goes. Ouroboros there taking a while to lead the scoring zone. Jam Dynamics there lining up, nearly grabbing that silver token square on, but not quite being lined up. Unfortunately there, Wisbeach taking the opportunity and trying to go in for a steal. At the Headington robot there, nearly lining up to the gold token in that top left-hand corner. Unfortunately, they seem to be out of it by just a hair, and instead, rather than trying to grab it, end up pushing it towards the XRS robot there. 2 golds, almost colliding with that robot.
Now there is an actual fight going on. It looked like Jam Dynamics was trying to grab a token off that central pedestal. They had the raised jaws, as in fact do Headington down there, which is not a bit successful. Maybe they were pushed slightly out of position.
Jam Dynamics there giving that silver token point to their opponents in the Wisbeach Grammar School corner. That's very unfortunate. That's giving that team 4 points.
Hills Road going for a bit of a fumble with that silver there as well. Having a lot of difficulty this match. All of the teams.
We've not seen an especially strong performance from any of them, which is impressive, seeing as Jam Dynamics are generally an incredibly well-scoring team.
Well, they might still get the win here. Of course, all they have to do is score better than these other teams. If they can bring that silver token home.
Unfortunately, not quite. Nope. Lol, nope.
They just raise it to the sky. An offering to the SR gods.
If they can't have it, no
Bless
one
me
can.
with league points, so SR gods. Bless me with triple disqualifications for the other teams.
Speaking of these SR gods, bribes are very much accepted. He says in front of the head judge.
Non-sequential, unmarked M&S vouchers. It's the most middle class of bribes. In the meantime, Hennington over on their backs. See if we can get scores in the last few seconds remaining in this match.
We have 20 seconds of this match, and it looks like Jan Dynamics out of action. Headington as well out of action, laying on their back. Hills Road, they're not sure what they're doing. They're moving towards the Jan Dynamics scoring zone, but there's no tokens there. Jan Dynamics still holding the token they were clearly aiming to get a scoring point from. The Wisbeach school there, clearly not all the tokens from around their starting zone have all been moved away. They're clearly looking for tokens, but can't find them. And there we are, the end of match number 39. Some slightly more sorry performances almost from what we generally considered reasonably strong teams there.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I mean, well, it's fortunate for them that it was all of them doing not so well, because of course the number of league points is the same available. It's the same in every game. There are 20 league points to be had in every game. With a tie like that, it's still 5 apiece. Not to be sniffed at.
No, any amount of points is still a decent amount of points to be had, but as you say, a draw like that with no obvious winner, that does still penalise those people in first place by quite a large amount, and that may be incredibly necessary as we move into the knockout phase of the competition.
You don't have to score lots of game points. You only have to score more than everyone else. It helps in breaking ties, but it's really just about beating your opponents in the match at hand. Right, coming up in the next match, we have Wisbeach once again. We have Lawrence Sheriff. We have King Edward VI. And in the green corner, we have Kenilworth. Could be quite a close match. Lawrence Sheriff, dominating performance yesterday. See if they can match Kenilworth's record.
Yeah, we had the first and second place robots in this match. This could be a very high scoring match from both those teams.
Off we go. Slightly slower start than expected. It looks like King Edward VI are the first ones out of their zone, followed by Lawrence Sheriff. The others follow soon after. Kenilworth lining up on a gold. Wisbeach slightly slower to line up on the gold. Bit of a fight going on up there in the top right corner. It looks like both Lawrence Sheriff and King Edward VI going for the same token, or at least tokens in the same area. King Edward VI pushing around the outside of that central pedestal. Points scored for Kenilworth, points scored for Lawrence Sheriff. Something flew out of the arena there. I think it might have been a token.
It looked like a gold token to me, yeah. It may end up in space.
Okay, so now we've gone from space program to projectiles. They've got that lucrative military contract finally.
I'm definitely glad I'm not stood around the arena.
Ballistic tokens. We did have a game once where you had to throw coloured balls, in fact. It's a game called Golf. It was in the second ever SR competition. As King Edward VI grab a silver token. What are they going to do with that silver token? They're going to throw it, apparently. It makes more sense for them to be going for the golds, if they can get them. Because that silver token would decrease their number of points if they brought it home. Lawrence Sheriff and Kenilworth seem to be stalled out. A low-scoring match for both of them. Lawrence Sheriff and Kenilworth with 1 point apiece. Of course, that still does put them up in first place. Or joint first place in this match. That's still 7 league points apiece. Unless Dark Horse last minute entry from Wisbeach here. Can they make something happen? They certainly can if they steal that gold.
That would be a very impressive thing. They're going to grab it, but it's not obvious whether they're going to be able to line up and actually steal it. They've now pushed it into the arena wall and lined up with it. There's 30 seconds left. That could be enough to drag it out.
No,
not quite.
Did you see that? The grabbers were too high. They closed the grabbers above the gold token.
Oh,
a bit of a programming error there. That's really unfortunate. King with the 6 now on their backs, being pushed by Kenilworth. Stop! He's already dead. And thereupon ends that match. Points apiece for Kenilworth and Lawrence Sheriff. Looks like it just all got very chaotic here. Once they started getting in each other's way, they started sort of breaking sequence.
Yeah, that top right-hand corner looks like some real carnage went on between the 3 robots there. Unfortunately, whilst there was a silver token pushed towards the bottom left-hand corner, it didn't quite get as far as the scoring zone. So there were only 2 token points worth scored in that match.
So, coming up next, who have we got?
We're moving into match number 41, it seems, between Wisbeach Grammar School, Perth School, South Wilts, and Lawrence Sheriff. This could be a very impressive looking match because both Lawrence Sheriff and South Wilts have performed incredibly well so far in this competition, and we could, much like we were expecting to see in the last match, we could see 2 very, very high performing robots.
Will we see that record met of 5 tokens in a single zone, though, from match, 39?
That was incredibly impressive, but that's quite a feat. Although this is the 2nd and 4th placing robots so far, so it could happen. Let's see how the match goes. They're per school doing their signature move and sort of driving into the arena wall there. South Wilts expertly lining up and grabbing that silver token there and moving it into their scoring zone. That's not quite at our 12-second record so far, but in under 20 seconds, both Lawrence Sheriff and South Wilts have both scored points. That's impressive. As South Wilts clearly going for a second, and as they do, knocking over the Lawrence Sheriff robot. That's very, very unfortunate.
Well, that'll decrease their points.
It will, yes. It will stop them scoring any more, at least. If they're on their back, they can't move.
Maybe we should have installed some kind of streamec, like Robot Wars of yore.
A sort of flipper on the top of their robot.
Yes.
Comedic and quite impressive, but not especially high performing.
Prone to physics bugs, one would imagine.
Yes, it would. The only robot seem to be moving is the Wisbeach robot there. They have a nice silver token in prime position right in front of them. They can't seem to be able to see it and line up to it properly. It looks like they're trying to localize based off of our arena wall markers, but that doesn't score them any points. It looks good, and they're lining up with their grabber, but there's no token there. So far, still, the only robots to score any points are the South Wilts and Lawrence Sheriff robots, but both of them appear to be out of action.
The Perth School, as ever, having some real difficulties. They've been really struggling this competition, unfortunately. It looks like they've just turned into the wall straight off their starting zone and are now somewhat stuck. We see them slightly dislodged after a while on a couple of occasions, but they're having a rough old time. I mean, everyone's having a rough old time in this match, it seems.
Everyone's having a rough old time. Yes, they are indeed. It's so far with 30 seconds from the end, and South Wilts have come back to life, but the other robots seem to be frozen.
It's alive!
It's alive indeed, Dr. Frankenstein. But let's see, with their random moving, they could even knock that silver token out. That would be very unfortunate. And as we can see, 10 seconds before there, we have the Perth School coming back to life. Spinning around a little bit. Looks like only one of their motors is turning there, which would explain why they're moving around in circles. And there we have it. The end of match number 41. We were expecting quite a lot from those two teams, South Wilts and Lawrence Sheriff, but it didn't quite live up to our expectations.
I think we jinxed it, Jake.
We may have jinxed it, or we may have slightly too high hopes. One of the two.
Sorry.
Whoops.
Oh, it's just exciting. I guess for a number of reasons, we've been seeing some very, very high-performing robots in this virtual competition. Part of that's probably down to there are fewer things that go horribly wrong with the virtual robots. But part of it, we suspect, is down to the fact that it's just easier to test. It's hard to build this year, 5.75 meter by 5.75 meter arena, physical arena to test a virtual robot in. Whereas you can do a full-scale test of these, build a physical robot in, whereas you can do a full-scale test of these virtual robots in essentially the same environment as the actual competition.
It's quite nice. We can see, because we give teams the exact same simulation that we run when we generate these recordings, they can develop in an exactly real-world production environment, which is an incredibly useful thing. In the general competition, we give them tinker time, which basically means they can come into the actual arena and give their robot test, but generally they'll only get 3, maybe 4 debug loop cycles, whereas in this they can have hundreds, thousands, depending on how much time they have.
So we're coming up to a bit of a break in the matches at the moment. Matches will be back in 10 minutes or so. In the meantime, let's have a quick look at some of our teams. We're going to be having a quick look at Team CUS here with their physical robot, which sadly never made it to production. Bit of a frame there. Looks like a prototyping arrangement.
Yep, indeed. We see apparently a cardboard cutout prototype of their physical robot. Generally we find teams get a lot of use out of prototyping their robot in either cardboard or paper or even 3D models sometimes. Get quite a lot of effort being able to actually see something and work out where motors are going to go, where the boards are going to fit, and things like that before they even get to manufacturing the actual production robot, whether it be out of metal or wood or plastic or however they want to build it.
Cannot overstate the importance of prototyping. That gets us on to the next stage. There they are with the electronics kit, with the brain board on the left there, power board on the right. Doing some programming on it, it would seem.
It would seem indeed. Obviously, the main interface. Oh, that's very cool. It looks like
manufacturing as well.
What they were planning to build their robot out of was, in fact, laser cut plywood.
Well, I certainly hope so. I certainly hope that isn't the actual robot.
No, having a laser like that on it may violate just a couple of health and safety rules, which...
Laser cutting, great manufacturing technique. Great way to make parts really quickly. Very custom parts really quickly and precisely. Don't mount one on a robot.
Please.
And they have some L brackets there as well, which are generally good. We haven't seen a lot of metalworking from teams, but the teams that have done it have done very well. And there is a final base that looks like without the electronic parts mounted down, but with some very chunky wheels there.
Those look like very small motors to me.
They're geared though, which is unusual. Usually we have teams go for a direct coupling between those brushed DC motors and the wheels, but those are geared at a 90-degree angle, which presumably makes up for the size of the motor.
That could have been a very interesting tactic to see from that robot, and potentially could have performed quite well in our in-person competition.
Indeed.
But unfortunately, it didn't get the chance to this year.
You get plenty of grip on that carpet, so you don't actually need that much torque.
No, you don't, but you do need some decent-looking wheels.
They are some decent-looking wheels.
They are
presumably going the traditional tank steering approach, where you steer by changing the speed of your wheels differentially and have some kind of freewheeling caster at the back. Named after the way that, tanks steer with tank tracks. We have seen a couple of other arrangements in the past. There are Omni wheels, where you can use 3 or 4 of them in various arrangements. As Jam Dynamics demonstrate here with those... There's a good name for those, but I can't remember what it is. This 3 Omni wheel arrangement allows them to move in any direction by changing the speed to these wheels. If you see on each of the wheels, they have a number of smaller rollers on them, which allow them zero sidewards resistance. That means they can move in any direction. Going for a kind of UFO vibe, Team Jam Dynamics.
Seeing that robot move at the tech day where I believe this photo was taken, it really does move like a UFO. The fact that it can glide, as you say, in nearly any direction makes it always move so smoothly across the floor. It's an incredibly impressive thing to see.
Spooky. 3 spooky, 5 me.
Very spooky indeed. And there we have it.
We actually have a clip.
We do indeed. It moves very effortlessly across that floor there.
It's a classic arrangement. So there's the the Mechanim Omni wheels, which are slightly more difficult to control. We've seen teams use those occasionally. We have seen one team use legs on their robot. I think that was Gresham's in 2015?
2014, I believe.
2014.
I think.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And we did see one team who have entered into the SR Legendarium who built a hovercraft. They couldn't control it very well, but it did work. It was, it was, let me tell you, obnoxiously loud. If you're thinking about entering next year, please don't try and build a hovercraft. They're very difficult to control, and they're very noisy. I mean, it was very cool, don't get me wrong, but it didn't score many points.
Yes, you'll be able to get some nice style points, but we don't really award that. If you can do a theme properly, you might get a team image award, but besides that, you're not going to get many game points. As Alistair said, it was almost certainly incredibly difficult to control unless you tune it perfectly. Hovercrafts in the non-Student Robotics world are in fact incredibly difficult to control.
But you know what's more difficult to control properly? Rockets. Not that anyone would build a rocket robot, would they, Kenilworth? I'm just saying. I'm just waiting for Student Robotics 2021 Space Edition, where we actually suspend our arena in zero gravity. The final frontier.
Instead of a flat arena, it becomes the cube.
Why don't we just have an arena mounted on a wall? You have to fight against gravity, climb up it.
I mean, the health and safety is probably a reasonably large reason why that hasn't happened.
Oh, health and safety. Health and safety, apparently the reason why the most recent incarnation of Robot Wars was cancelled. Fun fact. It turns out that robots and robotics have come a long way since the first UK series. And the amounts of energy involved, because of lithium polymer batteries and the discovery of the enormous spinner to dump a lot of energy into another robot at the same time, developments, led to some part of some robot flying completely through one layer of audience protection and becoming embedded in the second. And I think they just thought it was too much of a risk at that point. I can't say that I blame them.
No, I mean, we don't have any audience protection around our arenas, and there's some quite scary stuff that goes on in there, and our robots are entering a non-contact match and a non-contact sport.
Although I should clarify that there's no audience at all around this particular arena.
There's you and I, but we're sufficiently far away.
Sufficiently far away. I hear that. Where did these matches take place? Either Cambridge or Switzerland, I think.
I mean,
Zurich.
That's far enough away from both you and I.
Yeah,
and even better, they were also recorded some number of hours ago. So not only are we separated by geography, we're separated by time.
Well, I don't know. It depends how fast those parts fly, right? If it had been flung off from Zurich following a ballistic trajectory, I don't know how long it would take to land embedded in my house. Anyway, assuming that doesn't happen, let's have a brief look at the state of the league before going into the second half of matches for today. Second eighth of matches for the league, if you want to look at it that way. Now, of course, as always, we should couch this by saying until the end of the day, these league scores are not totally representative because different teams have had different number of matches. With that said, let's have a look. Kenilworth holding the position up at the top with 103 league points, the first to go into triple digits. Lawrence Sheriff close behind them at 97. South Wilts 82. Jam Dynamics only 2 league points behind them on 80. That's a single match worth. Hills Road and Hills Road team number 2 behind them in 5th and 6th with 75 and 70. King over the 6th 1 point behind on 69. Headington 64. Gymnasium Markt Indersdorf on 61. Wisbeach 54. Per School 47. And unfortunately still to score any league points, but now with 6 game points, having been donated them by other teams. Southend.
That's an impressive performance from Southend. They've doubled the number of game points since we started the league match for today. That's impressive. And no other team has been able to improve quite that much.
Oh, the poor Per School, though. They've got fewer game points than Southend do. despite them materializing in Southend not.
Oh dear.
Right, what's going on here?
We are entering match number 42. Jam Dynamics, South Wilts, Purse, and HRS number 2. Jam Dynamics and South Wilts are both very strong robots. They should perform quite well. Jam Dynamics, they're going for that silver token. Unfortunately, there's a South Wilts in the way. HRS trying to line up to what we thought was the gold token, now appears to be that silver one. South Wilts there very nicely moving that silver token into their scoring zone, giving them now a total of 4 game points.
Hills Road lining up on that silver. It's important to get that.
They seem to be pushing it towards the Perth School's scoring zone. They may give them more points, although it seems now they may have noticed the error of their ways and slowly moving it towards the edge of their scoring zone and bouncing it off the wall, and it seems to now be nice and soundly in.
It's always tricky to line up on those tokens. It's important to note you really do have to line up on the tokens pretty well. If you approach a token at a 45-degree angle and then close the jaws around it, you'll just push it forwards. It'll line up pretty well, and that's actually one of the big challenges of this game.
Yes, because intentionally, the silver tokens are in fact offset slightly by 45 degrees, making it slightly harder to line up with them. In theory, they are straight in front of you from your scoring zone, but it still does make it harder to line up. We can see there the Hills Road robot showing us quite how difficult it is, or in fact how easy it is there, lining up almost perfectly with that silver token. Jam Dynamics there appearing to be on their back. HRS2, however, now have a total of 7 game points with 45 seconds left of this match. That's a very impressive score, moving them quite nicely into first place.
Putting them firmly in the lead there. Unless they do anything particularly dramatic in these last few seconds.
Well, 30 seconds, we've seen very impressive performances from a number of robots in the final 30 seconds of matches.
As long as they don't knock either of those silver tokens out.
No, with 10 seconds left.
Moving the jaws there assertively.
Like moving towards that silver token. I hope they don't knock it out. And it appears they do not. That's very nice. Thus ends match 42, and it looks like HRS coming out in first there with 2 tokens in their scoring zone.
There was a match on the first day of the league where the team, I can't remember which team it was, unfortunately, but it was the team in the bottom left corner, in the yellow corner, had a token in their zone, and with I think 2 seconds to go, just suddenly turned their motors onto full and flung it out of their scoring zone.
That's...
Match number 4 or 5, I think.
Ooh, that's very unfortunate to see. Now, one thing to note is that these robots are not in fact remote control. They are entirely autonomous. Teams submit their source code. They submitted them for these set of league matches around 10 a.m. this morning, and ever since they've had nothing to do with their robot. They submitted some number of Python files, and we did the rest. There's no remote control, there's no interface. All they have is entirely what is functionally artificial intelligence, or as close to intelligence as they can quite muster. Now we're moving here into the 43rd match today.
Hills Road, LSS, MAI, and the Perth School. Let's see if the Perth School do any better. Off they go. Perth School, no, unfortunately, just turning into the wall. Lawrence Sheriff, they're moving better. They get out of their scoring zone. So do Gymnasium Mark Tinderstoff. Hills Road, sitting there, not quite out yet. Out they go. Gold tokens grabbed by Lawrence Sheriff, also looked by MAI. Hills Road, they don't quite grab that silver. It looked like they were on it, but then they backed off, doing a bit of spin there, presumably looking for another token. LSS pushing up that silver token. No, they just hit MAI. I'm presuming that neither of them actually want the silver tokens, since both their teams seem to be going for golds as their strategy. LSS lining up to get that gold from the central pedestal. It's very tricky to line up, and they don't quite do it. Unfortunately, they knocked that gold, I think because they were slightly pushed out of alignment by MAI. It looks like they may have pushed it too far in to be able to actually grab it. Hills Road, however, they managed to get that gold straight off the central pedestal. MAI yeeted out of the arena by LSS.
Oh dear, that's very unfortunate to see.
Yitten, as we established. Hills Road, bringing home that gold. Slow and steady, as has been the tradition for Hills Road, it seems. So points scored apiece there for Hills Road, for the now mysteriously absent MAI, and for Lawrence Sheriff. Now, of course, this competition is fully automated. The code says what it does, and there's no human intervention from the moment the match starts, which is very unfortunate for the Perth School, whose code seems to be having some difficulties. They're a bit stuck down at the bottom left there. But if you program it right, you can do some very, very cool things, as LSS have demonstrated in the past, as Kenilworth tend to demonstrate, South Wilts demonstrate. In the meantime, Hills Road going for a quick up and down there. Not sure what that was about. It looks like they're trying to line up on that gold token there. It's important to get lined up on these things. Last minute movement from the Perth School there. The code has come back alive. Spinning around, once again spinning on one wheel. Will Hills Road get that gold token into their home zone in the last 2 seconds? No, unfortunately they won't.
That's unfortunate to see, and that's very, very close to their scoring zone. It would only have taken a small amount more effort and more finessing
Just
to give them, in fact, a very clear win in this match.
Just a little nudge, and that would make a lot of difference in league points. So with the league points as they are, that's 6 points apiece to those teams who were in first place. Had they managed to get themselves into a clear first, they would have been taking home 8, 2 extra league points, with the teams pushed into joint second, taking home only 5 apiece. Does make a difference. You've got to score, but you also got to score better than your opponents. Nature of the competition.
Nature of the competition is indeed to, get points. And naturally, to do that, you need to score, in some cases, better than your opponents do.
Bring
the absolute
home
value doesn't necessarily matter. Not for the league anyway, but for the game points, which come into breaking ties in league points. It's incredibly important.
Bring home the proverbial bacon.
Indeed. Although, as far as I'm aware, there is no bacon in our arena. Although I am now very hungry. So, we're now moving into the match number 44 between Southend, Hills Road, both of the Hills Road number 1 and Hills Road number 2, and Jam Dynamics. Unfortunately, Southend there still not making an appearance. But Jam Dynamics showing us nicely how it's done, almost repeating their 12-second record, but unfortunately that token hasn't quite hit the floor yet. Meaning they didn't quite score the points immediately in that 12 seconds. HRS2 there, they have grabbed a gold token, but they're very close to the Hills Road number 1 robot there. Unfortunately, clearly not quite remembering which team they're trying to score points for.
Hills Road fight.
Indeed, and there we are. Jam Dynamics now have a second token. Incredibly impressive there.
Jam Dynamics look like they're back on form.
And now they're on their back.
I'm sorry, I jinxed that. I take full responsibility. That was my fault.
All support from Student Robotics comes with no guarantee.
Why do I open my mouth?
I do wonder sometimes. Had there the HRS robot number 2
wrecked
in the top corner of the arena there. It looks like they're trying to line up to a silver token, which is just out of our view. Currently yet to score points. It doesn't matter which color they grab, so long as they grab something. The HRS2 there looks like they may be trying to steal some of Jam Dynamics' hard-earned points. Unfortunately, Jam Dynamics out of action and maybe unable to stop them. However, it seems Hills Road 2 may actually just be trying to line up to some tokens. They're just spinning around in that scoring zone, apparently not doing much.
If they get one of those silvers out, that brings them
Ooh.
up to joint first.
It
As long as they don't,
very interesting.
bring the silver back to their own home zone, they'd be in good shape.
They would, and with 20 seconds left, it looks like they're lining up to grab that silver token. Will they be able to successfully execute a steal? There's 15 seconds left. This is going to be very close and could push us right up to the line.
If they can knock both of them out.
Oh,
out it goes. Out it goes.
That is out. That's incredibly impressive and successfully executing a steal there. HRS2 stealing a silver token there from the Jam Dynamics robots and moving them from Jam Dynamics from a clear first place down into a drawed first with the stealers there. HRS number 2.
Take that, Jam Dynamics. That was a really good bit of strategy right at the end there. Went for that silver, got the draw.
And in fact, here we have an instant replay of the steal there happening from the HRS robots. As we can see there, they are slowly grabbing that token, turning around towards the center of the arena, and slowly hobbling, as seems to be standard with HRS robots, as we've seen so far in this competition. Slowly hobbling their way over that line.
Out it goes. Out it goes.
Incredibly impressive.
Impressive stuff.
With only a couple of seconds left of that match. Again, incredibly impressive.
Oh, wow. Well, let's see if we can tie that up in the next match between Hills Road 2 materializing once again, facing off against Jam Dynamics, against Whiz Beach, and against MAI.
Now, we need to hope here that, Alistair, you don't jinx Jam Dynamics once again, saying their performance is, in fact, back on form, and then they end up.
You know what? I'll anti-jinx them.
Wait, what?
God, it's only a couple of seconds to go. Jam Dynamics, they're doing terribly, aren't they? They are, in the newest neutral possible way, grabbing a token, bringing it home, tying their record. That was about 12 seconds. Pretty much on their record. MAI also getting a gold. Home they bring it. Whiz Beach, they get a gold too. Can they bring it home? Hills Road lining up. They go for the push. You don't actually have to grab them. Pushing is perfectly good. Now, 2 silvers scored up in the top right from Jam Dynamics there. Looks like they're going for a steal. Jam Dynamics going for a revenge steal from Hills Road team number 2. They're really sore about that last match, aren't they? They get the silver. Can they bring it home?
That was...
Out it goes! Oh, that is a grudge if ever I've seen one. That is a robot with a grudge.
That is indeed. That is the first 2 steals we've had in this competition so far have been between the 2 same robots in 2 consecutive matches.
Hills Road 2, they're not happy. They're not happy. Or it's not happy, I should say. It's lining up. It wants that token back. In the meantime, MAI down at the bottom left, happy to ignore what's going on. They'll just, score points while this tussle is going on. Whiz Beach getting on the action. Looks like they push Jam Dynamics over. Jam Dynamics on their back. Hills Road going for another steal. Now, Jam Dynamics are still in the lead right now, but not for long, judging by that expression on Hills Road 2's non-existent face. They go out. What are they doing? Are they lining up? Are they trying to grab that gold? It looks like they are. Okay, so Hills Road 2 taking the moral high ground there. I'm not going to let this conflict escalate, they say. I'll just bring home some golds. Or maybe they're picking a fight with MAI instead. Better opponent. Need to prove themselves in combat as MAI tie with Jam Dynamics. Getting the 3 scores there as Whiz Beach are shot out of the arena at great velocity. Jam Dynamics at about they're pushed up against the arena wall. I suppose it might be possible for them to go back over at this point, but it's quite unlikely with only very few seconds to go. Hills Road looks like the only one alive at this point, and that is the end of the match. Wow, that's a very high-scoring match. I'm not sure if that silver token is in for Hills Road up in the top left there, but 3 tokens apiece, 10 points apiece. Scored in 2 separate zones that match, Jake.
That is incredibly impressive performance from both of the teams there. And what we're going to do now is take another look at that incredible stealing performance there from the HRS2, from even Jam Dynamics, avenging the previous stealing.
Avenging Angels. In they go. That is mine. Sorry, Hills Road. None of your malarkey.
And in fact, had that steal not happened, that steal in fact put that robot into first place from second. So that in fact made all the difference in that match.
See, I anti-jinxed them at the beginning of the match. It worked.
Sure. Keep telling yourself that. It'll make you sleep easier at night.
I do take bribes, so if you want me to curse your robot at the beginning of this next match,
just make sure you're cool down. And we are 15 seconds away from the start of match number 46, the penultimate match of the league. It's going to be incredibly impressive and incredibly important. Teams MAI, Headington, Southend, and King Edward VI entering this match. Let's see how it goes. Both the King Edward VI and Gymnasium Marktgrunnensdorf off the line. Headington and MAI moving in almost perfect unison there. Moving up, trying to line up to that gold token. Incredibly impressive. Can't say I'm sure what King Edward VI are doing. Just moving, clearly trying to find the South End High School robot. Trying to work out why they're not here. Unfortunately, instead grabbing their silver token, and we have there in the top left-hand corner, Team MAI have successfully scored the token points using a gold token. King Edward VI look like they follow suit again with a silver token scored there. HSO seem to be almost pushing that silver token into the scoring zone there for Southend. And it looks like King Edwards are not having any of it. Pushing it away. In fact, pushing the token further into the scoring zone. Not quite very successful. And in the process, knocking both of them. It appears out of action. King Edward VI, they're very much on their back. And Headington may be recoverable. We will just have to see.
More points for Southend there.
Yes, indeed. The robot which has still yet to appear in our league. Actually, that moves them up to a total of 9 game points. That's quite impressive from a robot which is functionally invisible. The only robot still running is indeed the MAI robot there, going for the gold token on the raised platform. They successfully grab it and then proceed to drop it. Grab it for the second time. There's 45 seconds left. That should be enough to drag it back into their scoring zone, as they're showing there very nicely grabbing it into the edge of their scoring zone, giving them a total of 7 points, 7 game points in this match.
MAI, of course, historically one of our strongest teams. They weren't doing so well at the early stages of the league. They seem to have found their feet now. Some reliable, solid point scoring from MAI these last couple of matches we've seen them.
Indeed, in the first set of league matches, the main thing we saw from them was their fidget spinner directive. It seems now they've changed the fidget spinner to something which actually scores them points, and whilst not necessarily giving them the same style points, it does give them more match points, as is shown in this match, where they indeed score first place. Very nice to see there.
So we're now coming up to the final one, the big one, the deciding final match of the league, match number 47. It's 47 because they're 0 indexed. We're going to be seeing this match between South Wilts, Kenilworth, Headington, and HRS. This is going to be a close one. I don't really even want to say there's a robot to watch, one to watch for this match, because they're all the one to watch.
All robots are indeed one to watch. But Alistair, who do we have in this match?
We have the Sasvitz, we have the Kenilworth, we have the Headington, we have the Hillsroad. I don't know why that was done in a comedy bad German accent. It seemed appropriate at the time.
Well, it's definitely appropriate considering MAI are not in this match.
Yeah. Sorry, MAI.
Exceptionally appropriate.
I'm going to tell you that's a Prussian accent. And forgive myself that way.
You count yourself that.
And off we go. South Wilts, in they go. They're the first out of their scoring zone, lining up on that silver. Headington and Hills Road lined up. Looks like they were going for a collision there, but no. Hills Road, out they go. Gold grabbed up in the top right corner by Kenilworth there. They get the point. South Wilts now going for the second point. Getting dangerously close. Looks like they've caught themselves on the side of that central pedestal there as Kenilworth going down into Headington's zone. Are they just trying to line up on that second gold there? The second gold at the bottom right of the central pedestal. It looks like they might be. Down it goes. Now the pushing strategy, moving 2 tokens at once from Headington down in the bottom left there. Unfortunately, there were tokens of different colours. South Wilts. South Wilts up there looked. Oh no! Looked for a brief moment that like they were going for a steal. Going for a steal from Kenilworth. They don't quite pull it off. Out they go again. In the meantime, Kenilworth got that second gold. Can they bring it home? And can Headington score with either of those tokens right in front of them? They do. They push the silver across the line. And across the line.
Unfortunately, the wrong scoring zone. That is Headington there giving the points to the HRS team. Not the best tactic, but I guess it works.
Let's hope they don't glitch that silver out of the arena down the bottom left, because we did see one glitch out earlier today. Kenilworth lining up for third. Out they go. They've got 40 seconds to score this point, unless South Wilts pull a Hills Road. Nope, they're just going for that silver. And they get shot into space for their trouble. We're dead keen on the space today. Not
Space
usual. Very little time left in this last match. Looks like the lead is held by Kenilworth here. 3 points. Points scored apiece. Down on the bottom left for Hills Road. And on the top left for South Wilts. Unfortunately, Kenilworth don't quite have enough time to score that 4th gold. And thereupon, that is the end of the league. It's been a wild ride. Robots have got significantly better over the course of the league, I have to say. Some not great performances on the first day, but some very close matches up towards the end there, especially the ones that I jinxed.
Yeah, we should really stop you jinxing them. Although, when you jinx them, at least interesting things do happen.
They certainly do. And we've also seen some very high scoring, including that one match where we had 5 tokens in the same scoring zone. 5. Damaged, of course, by the fact that one of them was poisoning from another team. Going with the advanced strategies there. And we're now in a state to have a look at the final state of the league. At the end of the league, sitting unfortunately at the bottom, is Southend, who have not made an appearance. Perhaps we'll see them, perhaps we won't. At team The Purse School are in position 11 with 51 league points with their difficulties. Wiz Beach up behind them with 57. Headington above them with 70 league points in 9th place. In 8th, we have King Edward VI from Southampton with 75 points. Gymnasium Markt Indersdorf, position number 7 with 82. With 88, we have Hills Road, team number 2. And just above them with 90, leading by only 2 league points. Team number 5, Hills Road, number 1. In position number 4, it's South Wilts with 93 league points, 98 for Jam Dynamics, a rookie team this year, in 3rd place. In 2nd place, with 103 league points, Lawrence Sheriff, leaping up from their early performance. But of course, right at the top, with 111 league points, it's Kenilworth.
That's
And their famous space program.
Very famous indeed, or infamous, depending on how you look at it. It's very impressive to see that those top 3 positions in our league table there are in fact unaffected from where we started things this morning, or earlier today at least. Both 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are held by the same teams. South Wilts, however, have successfully been able to jump over the HRS team, which is quite nice to see. Now, what's incredibly good about the fact that we have now finished the league is we are able to move into the knockouts.
Yes, we are. We have.
In a second is take a look at what the knockout table will look like.
So, in quarterfinal number 1, we will be seeing Kenilworth facing off against Hills Road number 1 and Headington. In quarterfinal number 2, we have MAI up against Jam Dynamics and the Perth School. In quarterfinal number 3, we have South Wilts. South Wilts there facing off against Southend and King Edward VI. And finally, in quarterfinal number 4, we have Lawrence Sheriff up against Wisbeach and Hills Road team number 2. Now, of course, with 12 teams, these quarterfinals, there's 1 robot absent from each of these matches. 2 of the robots in each of these quarterfinals will go through to the semis, and 1, well, I was going to say we'll be going home, but of course we're already at home under the circumstances of this competition, will not be coming to the semi-finals, perhaps I should say. Be going to Robot Heaven. Actually, can't really say that either, because Kenilworth have been reliably doing that every match.
They have indeed. They could be going to Robot Heaven, Robot Hell, or Robot Purgatory, depending on how exactly they've performed in the league and how many tokens they've stolen or poisoned from their other competitors.
Student Robotics would like to remind all robots that Robot Hell is a real place where you will be sent at the first sign of dissent.
For further information on Robot Hell, please see Futurama.
So, with that, we look forward to seeing you again next Saturday for the knockouts, for the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and the grand final, where we'll be seeing who takes home the trophies of this year's Student Robotics Virtual Competition. And with that, goodbye from Jake.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.